Welcome to another episode of the Tech Transfer Podcast. We have the whole crew together here, myself, Jennifer, Adam, Bennett, and David, and we are going to talk about celebrities who are tech entrepreneurs and some takeaway lessons we can get from them. And let's see, to kick it off, Jennifer, I think you were going to tell us about Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. We all know Drew Barrymore. She got her start famous when she was just a child in E.T. And she has since, she's an author. She's an actress in many film and TV. Now she has her own TV show. She hosts daytime talk show.
Is that still going?
I think so.
Yes, I think it survived through the strike they had, the writer's strike. Okay. I think they survived and they're up and running again.
Nice.
Anyway, she's cool. She's a cool entrepreneur. So,
yeah. So I didn't realize that she did a cosmetic line. I knew that she had done her show, right? Obviously acted, but I feel like that's such a natural extension for anybody who's a public figure, right? To launch some sort of product-based company. And yeah,
consumer
cosmetics makes a lot of sense for, some consumer product, because you can automatically become the face of the brand just because everybody already knows who you are. I think that's such a clever thing to do when you have that visibility.
Yeah, and Flower Beauty Cosmetics, their big emphasis is to give women access to cosmetics without having to pay a high price.
Right.
So they retail those through Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens. And I believe they sell on Amazon now because they branded e-commerce now.
Well, I think the reason we consider Drew Barrymore a tech entrepreneur is that she started with an e-commerce platform, right? I think it was first online and then they expanded. Is that right?
Yes, they began, you're right, as an e-commerce platform. And then she went into the stores, you're right. And she began, the whole Flower Films production company, that's where she first started at age 19. So young entrepreneur and then building upon that. But another thing that's cool is since then, they have recently launched what she calls Beautiful. It's a kitchenware company, and
another consumer product, right? It's something
right.
She can slap her name on her face, promote on her show, right?
Exactly, using her brand.
Sales problems.
And once again, focusing on women because she likes, she advocates for women. And their big focus is that the cookware every handle will fit a woman's hand comfortably in the kitchen.
I wonder if that's what she wanted to do, or I wonder if she wanted to target women, or if she just looked at her audience for her show and said, look, it skews female, so let's do products for women.
I don't know, but her books, I don't know if you're aware of them.
Sure.
A lot of them are about her life experience growing up and her addiction and addiction recovery experiences. But she has a perspective from a woman speaking to other women. Her voice is that in her books too.
Yeah. And I think that if that's your brand, right, why wouldn't you make products that cater exclusively to, the people who are paying attention to you, right? I don't know how successful she would be with her branding if she started a motorcycle company, right? Like that's not really what Drew Barrymore is known for, right? Wild motorcycle rides. But, her talk show, her connections with other women, right? So these cooking lines, the things that they're interested in, right? I think that that's something that's just really clever to do, play towards your strengths as a brand.
Yeah, so she found a niche that fits for her, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a good takeaway. And then consumer products. Go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, I could see her, doing the wild motorcycle rides, though, with the hair flowing back and
that's true.
Big smile on her face. That might be your next venture to go to. I think one of the things we see with her and with, I think, a lot of the celebrities we'll talk about is that, that they don't tend to be stuck in one place. They, you see them embracing opportunities as they arise in different directions. And so, that's one thing we could take away as well, I think.
Well, that would fit her brand too, Adam, because she did do Charlie's Angels movie.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay.
Maybe I just don't know as much about Drew Barrymore as the rest of us here.
What I know about Drew Barrymore is that she was married to Tom Green, and I watched that episode of her show. She had an episode where he came on, so it was pretty funny. Okay. Well, good. All right. So Drew Barrymore, probably a lot of people didn't know she was a tech entrepreneur, but there it is. So the next one, I'm guessing people do know, which is Ashton Kutcher. He's maybe one of my favorite celebrity entrepreneurs. Does anyone want to talk about him specifically? Or
Tell me where Ashton Kutcher can be found easily.
Okay, so Ashton Kutcher, I first encountered him when he was on that 70s show. That's probably the first big thing he did, right? Then he's done lots of, kind of rom-com sorts of movies since then. But over the years, he's gotten into into technology and startups. He's been involved in ventures for years. And some startups that he invested in include Airbnb, Spotify, and Uber. And I think as a celebrity, what I like about Ashton Kutcher is I think he's genuinely funny and smart and really in touch with normal people. Like, he's not an elitist Hollywood celebrity. I'm sure he lives a fabulous life at some level, but he seems like a normal person. And you can see it in his investments. Airbnb, Spotify, and Uber, those are all investments you make if you understand what normal people want to do. So being in touch with your customer, like I would say he's an example of having a really good, clear image of who your consumer is and then knowing what they want. So I don't know if that's instinctive or if he just does a good job of socializing with normal people or what, but I think that's impressive.
Do you think the access that he has as a Hollywood celebrity influences, the connections that he's able to make out in California, Hollywood being able to invest early in some of these companies?
Yeah, for sure. So, Steve Martin says, if you want to be a comedian, you've got to go to the coast, go to Los Angeles or New York, right? If you're an investor, it would really help to be where the investors are. And if you're in Hollywood, you're close enough to Silicon Valley that probably you get opportunities and just visibility. Like for us in Tech Transfer, one reason we do the podcast is just so people know we exist. There are a lot of people who don't know you can license the technology from the university. So we have to work to get that message out. Ashton Kutcher doesn't really have to get his message out. We've seen him. We know who he is. And so, he probably gets a lot of opportunities because of that. Good point. So if you want to be in business as a tech startup, you need to go to the place where the tech startups are, which would be Silicon Valley or Utah Valley.
Yeah.
Turns out increasingly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something like the students need to keep in mind as well, right? Because sometimes they're like, wow, how do you get a company funded, right? And it's, well, are you going to funding events? Are you meeting VCs, right? Are you doing some of these things where you're at the places where these things are happening? If not, then really what is your expectation to receive any kind of funding, right? So I think Ashton Kutcher is a good example of, being in the right place and making those connections very naturally. But if you are not naturally a Hollywood celebrity, you might have to put a little more effort into being in those places where people are, that you can make those connections.
Well, for normal people, like if you're a student entrepreneur, networking sounds gross. Like, I'm going to go meet people so that I can get something from them. That's really not good. But he probably doesn't have to do that. Like, he's visible, so he can just connect with people and they understand that he's a player in this space and can do things like that. So as a college student, if you're networking, you're trying to meet people to raise money, what's the right way to do that? Thoughts from Ray?
I think it's less complicated than we sometimes make it, right? I think that if you're a venture capitalist, people coming and asking you for money is like literally part of your job, right? And so if a student comes and pitches you a company and says, hey, I need, $300,000 to make this happen, that's not this like gross misstep, even though as a student, that's probably the first time you've ever asked somebody for that amount of money, right? But to a VC, it's like, oh, wow, this is a relatively small investment, right? It's a return on it, right? Like they're just going to step through it like it's a normal Tuesday for them, when this may be, this very anxiety-inducing moment in your life, the first time you pitched your company and asked for somebody to invest in it. So I think getting in those situations and just realizing that it's not as intimidating as you think it's going to be, right? Doing it the first time makes it a lot more natural the second, third, fourth time that you need to do that and really start growing your company.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And like anything, you can make it feel less risky if you just do it more times. Like if you think this one interaction is going to make or break my company, oh, that's stressful. But it turns out there are thousands of VCs. Like if this one doesn't work out, there's someone else to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Well, those are some pretty solid lessons from Ashton Kutcher. So next on our list is Jessica Alba, who I think I know primarily from the movie The Fantastic Four. I'm not sure that's how she wants to be remembered, but she's in there. She's in the Invisible Girl. Does anyone know Jessica Alba well and want to talk about her?
No, but I know Honest Company really well.
Okay, well, that's Honest Company. So she founded that, right? Co-founded it. Well, what is the Honest Company?
They are a company with, once again, consumer products, and they really do focus on eco-friendly baby and household products, cleaning products, baby products. They are a little pricey, but I think the quality is very high. So you're getting good quality with those products. I also like that she emphasizes social responsibility and sustainable practices in business. I think that's very important in today's world for consumer products. People like CSR. They like corporate social responsibility. So,
and this is another one where she's a tech entrepreneur because she started with an online only presence and then expanded into retail stores. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And they had they were great. She had a great presence when she started on my Instagram and Twitter, or X now.
Okay.
It really was she had whoever marketed that for her, did a great job on social media. So.
Yeah. And she's been interesting. Of everybody on our list, I feel like her primary source of income was acting revenue for a long time. And then she started her company. And once it took off, like, she does not do very much acting at all. And, right? Like, acting is more of a part-time gig at this point in her career, which is kind of crazy, right? That you could become that successful in something arguably unrelated to acting to the point where your primary career becomes your secondary career. Just kind of amazing in and of itself.
But if you're a celebrity, especially if you have a short timeline, like actors, most actors aren't going to be famous for a long time. Or think about athletes, you'll probably be a professional athlete for a few years. That really, I think the strategic thing would be to use those years and your presence, your free publicity at that point to launch something like this, to have a company that makes it. And a lot of them do that. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I think that's a good takeaway.
I think for your average person too, you have a different level of energy when you're young, and that energy can be beneficial as an entrepreneur as well. If you come into it late, you bring wisdom and some things that are beneficial as well, but don't be afraid to use your youth as an asset, the energy that you can bring to a company.
Yep. Okay. Well, great. Well, pretty good. So Jessica Alba takeaway, parlay that whatever window of publicity you have or opportunity into something sustainable, which she's done. And also another good thing is, Jennifer, you were able to state really concisely what the Honest Company is about. Eco-friendly household companies. That's got to be the result of good marketing on their part. Like, they know what their little niche in the market is. So great.
I identified it too.
And they package them. They look nice. Like, when you go to buy it, it looks nice too. So she's really smart, or whoever's doing that for her is very strategic in how they package and present those products.
Yeah. A sense of style too. Good. Well, next one on our list is will.i.am, the singer. I've got
Black Eyed Peas, right?
Yeah. What's that?
Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas, yeah.
Black Eyed Peas, right. So
he's acted in a couple things too. Not a lot, but yeah.
Yeah. And he's another one that, I don't know, I see around less than in the past, but I think maybe he's moved into the business space a little bit. So he founded I Am Plus. I don't know how you say that. And I don't have the year written down, but I have a sense that it was around 2009 or something. It was a while back. So when he was peak musical career, he was launching his company. So I looked them up to see what they do, and it was a little hard to figure out, but I think they own Wink, which is the smart home platform. Have you seen that? So it's like a platform for smart outlets and light bulbs and things like that. So this is a serious tech startup with really competitive cutting edge products, if I'm understanding them correctly. And he said on his website, he says they're blending fashion and entertainment and technology. They've had a bunch of different pursuits. I think from my superficial review of his company, what you could take away is that he's diversified. He was trying to do several different things. It looks like maybe Wink is the winner, or one of the ones that's done best. And so then you put all your energy into the one that's succeeding. That's what it looks like. But does anyone else know more about his business?
Well, I was just going to say that it's interesting that he's doing that, because in 2011 he was named the director of creative innovation at Intel, which is where I remember him from.
Okay.
And so he's not falling too far from that same kind of space where they were focusing on development of smartphones, tablets, and laptops at Intel, and it kind of flows along with his main theme. The fashion, the wearables, the I don't know, it's sort of like he kind of made it a lifestyle thing. So
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
Does he have a background in tech? I mean,
right.
It's really interesting that he chose this direction, because without like a technical understanding, is it more of him just like dreaming and reaching for it and finding the right partners to make it happen? I know less about him than I do some of the others on our list.
I don't know. He always has had kind of a distinctive fashion look, when he's in videos and stuff. I'm not sure, but I do think that it's interesting that he's just stuck with that same theme in all of the business stuff that he's done.
Well, he's been not just like riding along on endorsements from companies either. He was talking about in 2019, he was talking about creating an AI platform that sounded a lot like Chat GPT. I don't know what that's worked out to be, but he was kind of on the front edge of that too. So I think that would be, he comes across as a musician, an innovator who is genuinely really interested in a specific area of technology and has pursued that in a profitable direction, right?
It's also kind of interesting that I think it was probably same time frame as the Intel stint, where he announced that he was starting his own car company called I Am Auto.
Definitely.
So he's in a lot of interesting things.
Yeah. Well, and so, venture capitalists succeed by investing in a bunch of different companies at once and seeing which one succeeds. If you're him and you can get the capital behind things, you can try a bunch of different pursuits and then go with the winners, which seems like what he's doing.
Yeah. I feel like he hasn't done as good of a job as some of the others on our list at making himself the face of some of these companies, right? Like with Drew Barrymore, Jessica Alba, right? Like it's very obvious who the face of the company is. But with Wink, like I wouldn't have known he was involved,
Right.
You told me and then, looked it up, and if sure enough, he's involved. So I don't know if that's a missed opportunity or if they're doing that on purpose to try to brand the tech different than Will.i.am's, specific branding.
Mm-hmm. And you have to wonder the strength of the brand. Like, is he as big a celebrity as Drew Barrymore? Like, I don't know how the numbers play out. Maybe he just looked at it and said, look, my big asset is connections and wealth here, and the image is secondary. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting.
Okay. So good to speculate about, but he's doing a few interesting things. Our next person would probably come to a lot of people's minds as an entrepreneur because she's really been out there and visible, and that's Gwyneth Paltrow. Does anyone want to talk about her company?
Well, she started a newsletter.
Right.
And I think it was a wise way to go because the newsletter would get a lot of feedback. I think that was how she determined her audience. Who was she going to target? Who was she going to sell to? I think it started with the newsletter. And then I think she built, because her products are just random. It's not like she has a product line of cosmetics or fashion. It's just random products that she builds on.
Yeah, I believe her brand is like wellness, right? But wellness as defined by Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Not necessarily as objectively measured by any other group or organization. So yeah, I would agree with the assessment that her product lines are super random, right? If you look at what she's offering, I don't know that I would categorize it as any one thing specifically other than just, again, things that are interesting to Gwyneth Paltrow.
Well, maybe what are some examples?
I don't know. She had like, what was it, rock salt deodorant or something like that? I'm trying to remember a couple of things, but like, it's not like she did a bunch of like deodorant lines. It was just like, here is one random, rock salt thing that I thought was interesting.
It's almost like an Oprah favorite things kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then like, I believe she actually takes part in like the manufacturing of a lot of these products, or sets up the manufacturing or at least the supply chain. And so it's her product, but it's kind of like the Oprah, list of things where she just picks something at random, what it feels like to me anyways, and then sets up the supply chain, and that becomes part of her Goop company. Yeah, she's got candles and
I wonder
stuff.
Yeah.
What's that, Jennifer?
I think there's a face cream or a lotion.
I wonder if any of this was intentional, or did she just create a newsletter because she wanted to do that, and then it's surprisingly developed into a business?
It was a good strategy. If it was intentional, I think it worked because I think she got a lot of feedback and recommendations that steered her to what would interest them, but what she likes as well.
For a lot of these celebrity entrepreneurs, I feel like they were just doing things. They were just being a celebrity, being out there, and then something started to show commercial promise, so they grabbed onto it.
They're taking advantage of their opportunities, and then I think also I think a lot of them they focus on what they're passionate about.
Right.
She's passionate about these items that she sells, that she promotes through her social media channels and whatnot, through her connections to her consumers. And she's passionate about it. They can feel that passion, and because they can feel that passion, they get interested in the products. And I think that our entrepreneurs can, leverage that as well. When they have passion for what they're doing, their customers will sense that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think also wellness is a fit for her. Like for her as a spokesperson of a wellness company, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So that's probably why it works, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So maybe knowing if you're going to use some celebrity, know what's a good match for you. And then go with what works and build from the ground up. That seems like what she did. Any other takeaways?
Once again, she's another very strategist with her social media. Her content's educational, informative, as well as she sells the products or introduces them.
Okay. What's the biggest Gwyneth Paltrow movie? What movie should we be thinking about?
Well, she won for Shakespeare in Love. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a big one for her. She was in all the Avengers Marvel movies, but even she wasn't quite sure like what her role was. There's several interviews.
Oh, that's right.
Where she's like forgotten that she was in a certain movie, right? And like I think her company definitely dominates her time now. Acting has become secondary.
No, but she's Tony Stark's assistant in there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What's her name? Yeah, she was actually really good. What's that?
Yeah.
Is that Pepper?
Yeah. Is it Pepper? I think so.
Yeah.
So, okay. Great.
And lawsuits in Salt Lake. So that got an insight for a while.
Going back, everyone.
Oh, that's right.
Sliding Doors, just an older one.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so litigation. Yeah, if you're in the public eye, you're gonna have some litigation probably. So, but all right. Well, the next one on our list is Kim Kardashian. So she went in a direction that makes a lot of sense for her too, I think. Does anyone want to talk about her? I just know Kim Kardashian from headlines. Do you know? She was married to Kanye West. That's what we know.
Yes. So I will say this. Of course, they had the name and the fame and the finances to be able to do what she's done, but she has been very wise in her business dealings and how she's gone about it.
Yeah, there are lots of reality TV stars, not a lot doing what she's doing. So
right, and she's successful because I think she is a little more strategic when she takes risks. I don't think they're just random. I'm going to try it. I think they're well thought out.
Mm-hmm. So her company is KKW Beauty and Skims.
Right.
And she's a tech entrepreneur because she's also done mobile apps. In fact, I think she was pretty forward thinking about social media and mobile apps, kind of hopped on things early. But so what are some of her products? I actually don't know.
I know they had like a Kardashian app game for a long time. And I just thought that was such a weird move. But then I saw a statistic the other day that mobile gaming like dominates the marketplace in gaming in general when it comes to actual revenue that's generated from like microtransactions. You know, people are on their phones all the time. So I think to your point, Jennifer, like she's been very strategic, that whole group has, in what they get into and really focus on like what makes money, right? Like we could do a lot of things with the thing that we have, but how do we translate this into dollars, you know, for ourselves and for our family? You know, how do we grow? So just very interesting. That's the one that I'm aware of anyways, just that app.
Well,
I think you're right about apps.
Their digital content that they promote.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, to some, it could be distasteful, but it's all strategic. It's all for the fame and how to best use their name, like he said, for an end result of success, whether it's financially or however.
On the app point though, so the other day on TV, I saw Drew Barrymore doing an ad for a mobile gaming app, just like a simple game where you're trying to buy whatever in the game. And I thought, how much must they have paid her for this? I bet it was a lot, but it's because, like you say, that's actually a huge market. They're making tons of money. So.
Yeah, and the games don't even have to be very good. You know, like I said, I learned about the Kardashian game app because it was so terrible, right? Like literally watch reviews of people just dunking on it, how bad it was, right? How terrible it was. You don't do anything. And yeah, I'm sure they made a ton of money from it, right? And so, I mean, not that that's necessarily what she wanted your business to be, right? It's just like some time waster that makes a ton of money, but I know the financials, if they work out, that can be good.
Well, and of anyone on the list, she's maybe closest to the consumer, right? If you're a reality TV star, if you've had her kind of career trajectory, like she's very familiar to ordinary people. And so you're going to have to reach them. Like I'm sure she could do some high-end luxury line, but that would probably be a mistake. That's probably not who her base is. She needs things that appeal to mass market.
Well, and if you think of Kim Kardashian, you can also think they do have Kylie Jenner, part of the family, has a very successful cosmetics line.
Mm-hmm.
And where it has, and she's very slow to manufacture because she takes her time, because once again, she's using things that she likes with her name, but she's also building a quality product.
All right. So let's see. What are some takeaways? What are the best on her? I think early adopter of technology, pursuing products that are actually paying off. and pursuing so many different opportunities and products that you can kind of pick winners. So,
And brand
anything else?
identity, obviously, using that to leverage things.
Yeah. Okay, great. So next on the list is Dr. Dre. He's co-founded Beats Electronics. So I guess I'm familiar with them. I bought a couple of Beats headphones this Christmas. They are really popular, especially with teenagers right now, I think. And great fit for him because he was, music figure, and then he creates this. Apple actually bought Beats in 2014. So they own that now. But yeah, he was a tech entrepreneur, created a technology device, headphones that were premium and made sense for the market that he had established himself in. Pretty smart.
Yeah. And I think compared to some of the other, celebrities that we've talked about, he really stuck with what worked for him, right? I don't know that he really branched out much outside of audio equipment, right? Really, it's the Beats headphones, right? That's what he's known for. That's what his brand is, and it was enough of a brand that Apple's willing to step in and purchase that just for that brand recognition, right? But I don't know that he does much other than that. Just anybody else? I mean,
music production,
music production, obviously, right? But as far as products.
Well, for this product, another key takeaway for him, I think, is he teamed up with a tech expert. Like, he wasn't going to learn to make headphones or mess with any technical aspects. He was there for the user experience, and he found a good partner to co-found with him.
Right.
And the things we found an edge. I mean, if you look around, I mean, the market is saturated. I mean, there's so many options for headphones out there. But he realized that one of the options that was underutilized was high quality stuff. And so you put high quality stuff out there and differentiate yourself based on that. You can find success in a really crowded market.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, in a crowded market, you feel like there's not room to compete, but maybe it's just validation that there's huge demand. So there's something you can do there.
Well, there's less creativity involved in his product as well. It is quality, and it is a very high-tech outcome of a product, but he's also very creative, whether it was with the coloring, the branding of it, the look, the appearance.
Yeah. And they're high end in a market that the ordinary person can still afford to buy into. So they're high end for normal people, which is, if you're a music figure, probably that's who you want to connect with.
Yeah, note also that, and I'm seeing kind of a theme here, that a lot of these products that we're talking about are products that don't last forever. And so it feels like it's, the trend of these startups in a lot of ways is toward consumable type things that people would buy over and over, and not have them be like, what do you call it's not like a fridge or a washer or, something that lasts a while.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're gonna do what they're like in this case. He's gonna sell records. People buy a lot of records, and then sometimes they'll lose their stuff, or they'll buy some for a friend or something like that. But same with like the cosmetic industry. You're going to use up the cosmetic and go buy some more. Headphones are the same. You lose a little pod, and so no big deal. You just go buy another pair.
Okay. Well, next on the list, another music figure is Jay-Z. He founded Tidal, which is a streaming service, and the selling point was that he was going to be more charitable to artists, like give them more ownership and higher royalties, which I assume happened. And then in 2022, the company Block, which used to be known as Square, acquired at least a majority stake in Tidal. So unclear to me whether Jay-Z still owns part of it or not. But here again, this is another case of a music figure going after the music industry, something I'm sure addressing problems that have bothered him for years. Why aren't artists paid more? Is streaming going to kill revenues for artists? So he created a solution that artists supported, and apparently consumers also. I also think Jay-Z as a person is very strategic. Like, I'm sure from the start, he had a plan all the way through. He's, I respect like kind of strategic business people, and he's one of those. Does anyone know more about the company though?
So actually, I learned about it from this, so I was interested.
Okay.
Do you know if this is, well, who was the other guy that did a streaming service? Was it, I don't know if it's music streaming or if it's just high quality music files. I think it was Jack White, actually. Okay. But I'm wondering how this compares to that.
Let's see. I did not know offhand, but it is kind of when you're investing, sometimes people tell you invest in what invest in companies that you understand. And here, if you're creating something, you can create what you know. Like they're obviously drawing on their own experience, whether it's Jack White or Jay-Z or whoever else in the industry.
Well, this is another example of someone that used a differentiator to insert himself into a pretty saturated market. I mean, there all of the existing streaming services out there, and yet find success by, like you say, differentiating on focusing on high quality and by reimbursing the artist fairly compared to the rest of the market out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny that I was wondering about that because I just looked it up and it says Jack White is one of several celebrity co-owners of Jay-Z's recently relaunched titled streaming.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you did exactly the same thing. So, okay, good. Well, and on their website, they talk about how they provide unique fan experiences and so on. So it's more than just streaming music, but we'd have to look into that further. Okay, well, here's one that I think we've mentioned before in the course of the discussion, but Oprah Winfrey, obviously a celebrity who's involved in a lot of startups. She's invested in Weight Watchers and other platforms. We talked about how she's launched books and random products. So does anyone have any insights about her and her tech startup work?
No, but she's very influential. And so when her name is out there, it'll probably lead to success, whatever.
Yeah, when her book list came along, I mean, she was creating bestsellers every time she felt like it, every time she talked about a book. So she just had such a devoted following of people that would follow her device. That was a huge asset and that she used to launch companies. We're going to talk about, I think, Reese Witherspoon, who did the same sort of thing, but more aggressively from a business perspective. What surprised me a little bit about Oprah Winfrey is that she hasn't gone harder at commercialization.
Yeah, you think she would, because she would have the ability to go into any market and be successful, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she's done a lot of other businesses favors, which, obviously it's not necessarily one of her businesses that she's launching when she shows her favorite products. I remember in a past life that it was a big deal when one of the companies I worked for got a little package to her, and it showed up in one of her favorite episodes of her talk show, and it was huge for the company that I was with. So yeah, it's interesting that you can be an advocate and really a marketing resource for products that you have no vested interest in, but your influence is so huge that it's kind of this big swell of support, regardless of whether you're in it for your own money.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah, and those endorsements. Oh, go ahead,
I was going to say, I wonder, thinking back, and my timeline might be a little bit messed up, but thinking back, I wonder if, she originally started endorsing Weight Watchers, now WW. Was she just being hired on? I think she talked about how it had helped her and whatnot, but was she doing that before she invested in them and became part of the business, and I guess that's, just saying you can look for opportunities in interesting places and you can sometimes you latch onto something and start to love it and turn it into something that can be an opportunity for you.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, here's another fun one on the list. Ryan Reynolds. Does anyone want to talk about his business?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at that one. This is interesting. And I was just watching this on television. He has a show called Welcome to Wrexham, which is about the soccer club that he invested in. One of the oldest soccer clubs in the UK. And it's a really great show, showing sort of the difficulties and really victories that they experienced as they invested quite a bit in this soccer club. And now the soccer club, even though it's not in a Premier League, it is doing rather well and is moving up through the ranks. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Now, of course, most of us see him, at least I see him, on Mint Mobile because I use that service. And it's kind of cool. It's one of the few, the reason I own it as an accountant is that it's cheap. It's like $15 a month for my cell service. So I love it. And it's...
Well, how does it work, David? I've seen his ads, but I really don't know anything about Mint Mobile. How do they work?
It's just a mobile service provider. I used to go out and compare to see what the cheapest mobile service that I could use. They're not what you have to buy your own phone, so you're not including the phone cost in the monthly cost of the service, and it's competitive with, and I think better than some of the other budget services. Maybe there's a few others. I think the one that comes to mind is Republic. But Mint Mobile is kind of a nice, low cost, but pretty reliable way to get cell phone service without spending $100 a month on a service. I don't know what other kind of elements of Mint are popular, but for me, it's just the $15 a month that I can just rely on. I love that.
And this episode is not sponsored by Mint Mobile, but I just wanted to figure out what they're doing. We're talking about Ryan Reynolds. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I think maybe the funnest part of his show about Wrexham, as well as his Mint Mobile commercials, is just that he retains his sense of humor and uses it, and he is the face of the company, and certainly some of the other things that he's done. I think he was one of the main investors in Deadpool. So yeah, he's really out there in front, and he's using that that image of humor and some sarcasm and irony, kind of to promote the brands. And really, I think kind of that is the brand. I think it is humor, and so I think it's enjoyable to watch. One of the few commercials that I actually enjoy watching. He's got a lot of social media outlets that he goes through, and then of course, value seems to be his big thing. When he was on the Wrexham show, he really emphasized that the relationship he built with the locals was a big deal, and that comes through in the other businesses. It comes through in the Mint Mobile business, that he really cares about providing people good value. And so it's really kind of fun to see how things are developing. And then let's see, what are the other notes we have here?
Well, and I should note that Mint Mobile, he's a tech entrepreneur because Mint Mobile is a tech company. And obviously he's not developing technology, but he's an investor in it. So I'd be interested to know the arrangement, but there's some trade-off where he invests and also does their ads. Yeah.
I think their niche is they don't have a retail storefront. They don't have sales. It's online only. So that's how they keep the costs down.
Yeah, and that's so smart because the storefronts are often a disappointment for cell phone companies and expensive, and they seem unnecessary. So
yeah, well, and their marketing costs have dropped tremendously by bringing on Ryan Reynolds, right? Because he does the commercials basically he stands in front of the camera and, to David's point, just says something witty or clever, right? Just kind of on brand for him. And, it costs them near nothing to film that, right? And Ryan, he does a great job, like, across different brands, bringing them together. Like, he did a movie with Dwayne Johnson, and in the movie, both of them separately are promoting their spirit companies, right? Their alcohol companies. And there's like a whole scene devoted to each company. Wow. Right, with them like walking around, all the labels are facing out, right? Doesn't matter where the camera is, the label's always facing out. Like, but just very clever in taking advantage of what they're doing to promote the other aspects and other businesses that they have and leveraging it all together. I think is really smart.
Okay, and I found a Ryan Reynolds quote about why he'd invest in this company, because they were saying, look, he has assets at this point. He can invest in all kinds of things. Other people are investing in rocket companies. And his quote was, like most people, I only use rockets 10 to 12 times a year, but I use my mobile service every day. So that's pretty typical of his branding for the company. I'm trying to figure out the value of his ownership. He became an owner in 2019. An article a year ago says that T-Mobile's acquisition of Mint Mobile earned him $300 million. So possible.
I think he owns a third of the company, doesn't he? Something like that.
Well, post-acquisition, I'm not sure.
Oh, right.
Well, he's another example of finding the right opportunity and finding where the niche in a crowded market was. I mean, he leveraged the high value, low cost aspect of the market where some of the other ones we've talked about have found value in the, you know, high quality, higher priced goods in a crowded field. And so again, this example we can take from them is find the right niche and attack that part of it.
All right, great. Well, the next one on the list is Justin Timberlake. It's a little loud here right now, so does someone else want to talk about him for a second?
Yeah, so I can kind of read through the list that we have put together. So Justin Timberlake, former co-owner of MySpace. That was something that I didn't know. He, emphasizing the convergence of technology with music and entertainment. He's definitely branched out of music for sure, right, into the entertainment. I know the Trolls movie franchise, right? He voices one of the main characters. Like, that's been a big moneymaker for him, for sure, voice acting. What other tech things has he done? Let's see.
Well, and can I give you a little background on MySpace too?
Yeah.
So by 2009, MySpace was at its peak. It was competing head to head with Facebook, which was new. It was unclear which platform would dominate. There are a variety of reasons why Facebook was maybe a little better fit for people, but there could have been some business mismanagement. I don't know. So in 2011, Justin Timberlake became a co-purchaser of MySpace. And then, 5 years later, it was purchased by Time Inc. So the 2011 acquisition by him and his partners was for $35 million. In 2016, they sold it for $87 million. So that's probably, that's not killing it compared to other tech startups you could do potentially, but that's pretty good return. And the idea was that he would use his space to revitalize MySpace. You could see it as not quite working, right? Because MySpace is a little bit of a ghost town now. I am always interested, though, by companies where there's this huge digital footprint and then you just kind of ride it into the ground. Like, you stop marketing, you just appreciate that you're getting all these hits every day and it's still profitable. I think that's a little bit what happened with MySpace. But sorry, go ahead, Bennett.
Oh, no, that was everything that I saw. Let's see. Yeah, I think he's just done a good job. And like you said, like, his branding wasn't working for MySpace, right? Like, he wasn't revitalizing the image. And so instead of beating it into ground himself, right, he exited, went and found something else that was more on brand for him, right, that had a higher return and focused on those aspects rather than, what wasn't working.
Okay, that's great. And he's like a likable public figure. It makes sense that with the right opportunity, his image would add a lot. Okay, so finally we're to Reese Witherspoon. Oh, go ahead, David.
I just wanted to say that I don't listen to any Justin Timberlake music, but I think he is fantastic and has great chemistry with Jimmy Fallon.
Let me take your word for it.
There. He was on SNL like every other week. It seemed to be Fallon doing something.
Yeah.
Okay.
He does not take himself too seriously. So
right.
Yeah, sure. But serious actor too. Like, he's in The Social Network, right? And he was great in that. So, okay, good. So Reese Witherspoon. Does anyone want to give us the rundown on her?
She's awesome. And Hello Sunshine, once again, she developed a really great product that has been, I think it's successful, but I think it's also helping others in their narratives and storytelling narratives. So I don't know, it's pretty, for your millennial generation, they're very into Reese Witherspoon and all of her technology.
Yeah. And if I remember her business model, right? So she would look for books to make movies about, right? And when she found a book that she wanted to make a movie about, she would purchase the rights to make the movie, but also, I believe, the distribution rights of the book itself. Am I understanding that correctly? I thought that was her business model.
She actually had a book list that was, I think my video's frozen for you, so I'm going to pause that. But she had a book list that was modeled after probably Oprah Winfrey's list, same sort of concept. And so she would get authors and get their book on there. But as part of the deal on the front end featuring their book, she would have them sign an agreement that gave her option rights for movies and I believe potentially for distribution of the book itself. So that is a pretty smart way to run a book list. And that's why I'm saying, and it was a tech move still, like she's online. She's also making movies, including streaming things like creative distribution as well. But she's made some really, really popular ones like, what's that one? Is it Leanne Moriarty or some Australian author who's had several bestsellers? I think those all went through Reese Witherspoon. Like, she's had some really big hits. And it was, she's been very business centered from when she was a kid, if you ever hear her talk about it. So super impressive, actually.
Well, and she has surrounded herself with what you would call a very powerful passive people. So when she's directing or acting, she picks people who will also support and empower. Like I said, a lot of women are she's helping revamp a lot of careers as well, as she goes about this.
Right. On the front end, she said that one of her missions was to help actresses get parts. And what she said specifically, if I'm remembering, is that as actresses move through their career, once they get to be older actresses, parts can dry up for some of them. And she's like, no, that's not right. Let's create opportunities, movies that will feature these great actresses. And so, there's a social cause to it. And then there's also what we've talked about with some of these others, where she knows her niche. Like, she had her newsletter. She knew exactly who was reading that. And that's who she's going to target, and very successfully.
And she also is a soccer team owner. She's just
really? Oh, really?
Nashville Soccer Club.
Oh, okay.
I think it was in it was in 2022. And not only did she buy it, then she helped debut their new 30,000, I think, seat stadium that is primed just for soccer. It's only a soccer arena.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, great. Well, so that's our list. I think we've gotten through all the celebrities we met to talk to. Did we miss anyone?
Ooh, you should do Jennifer Garner.
Oh, that's right. You said Jennifer Garner. Well, tell us about Jennifer Garner. She's very likable as well, and has lots of ads and things, but go ahead.
And she's another one that pretty much became a parent, a mother, right? And focused on that and less on her TV and acting and the career. And in the process is when she became a co-founder of her company called Once Upon a Farm. So she moved to a rural area that bought a lot of farmland and was a farmer. Like, she was growing and experimenting and then using that to take into the kitchen for her family, based upon her mother and inspiration she received from her mother, who was very into healthy living and clean eating when she was growing up. And then she took that and thought, I could do a farm to family product and make money. And thus she found a great co-founder, and together they launched Once Upon a Farm. And it focuses on nutritious snacks and meals and also baby products. So they're very innovative. They're organic, they're farm to family. There's nothing in between. So they can say, we know where it grew, we grew it, and then we packaged it and sent it. And there's no middleman. So they can take it from beginning to end, their products.
Okay, so it is tech innovation. They're creating new products, right? I saw an ad the other day on TV where she was on the farm, like it was doing exactly what you're describing. I don't know if that was for the company or if it was a Capital One ad and they filmed it there or something, but because she does those too. But if you want to buy her products, is it an online sales situation or are they in stores? How does that work?
It's online, and they are in a few select stores. They've just recently launched. I believe Trader Joe's is one of them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the stores that they are franchising to. But I know that they did start online, and it's been pretty successful since 2015. Now they have an annual average revenue, I think it's 5.4 or plus million a year from nothing.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, good. That's great. So one more, she used her experience and her celebrity in a way that made sense and accommodated her lifestyle. Like, I knew she had toned down. She was on, she was at her peak. She did Alias and a bunch of movies and was really popular. And then she started having a family and just disappeared because she wanted to. So I always respect that as well.
And
so there's
another CSR, corporate social responsibility. They're all about renewable energy, and all their food packaging is recyclable. You can recycle it, and they use it for recyclable products, and they're very conscious green environment. And
well, and again,
an example of just taking the leap. She wasn't an entrepreneur before that.
Nope.
She just saw an opportunity and said, I'm going to go for it. And whatever the risks are and whatever the outcome is, this is something I'm going to try. And she ended up being successful. Maybe she might not have been, but I think she probably found resources and looked out for help and got help from people in the right places. And something that just says you don't have to be afraid of trying something new.
Right. And she'll tell you she had no experience. And she says that's been her biggest strength, because she says, I don't have limits on what I can think or develop because I don't know any better. So that's a good story for anybody.
That's great. Well, so if we do another episode with celebrities like this sometime, we've got to include Kevin Hart. I think he's the obvious choice. I know there's some others that are big that we've left out.
Yeah.
But if most people who listen to our podcast are tech entrepreneurs who are interested in licensing a technology from BYU or some other university so they can do a startup, what are the takeaways for them? Like from any of the people today, what would you learn from them that's applicable to tech startups?
Well, I think across the board, I don't know that any of these celebrities actually developed the tech themselves, right? They all found good partners that were either already in industry or been in industry to help them understand things that they didn't understand, right? And then capitalize on what they were good at, right? So Adam, you might have mentioned it earlier, sometimes the energy of youth, right? That entrepreneurial spirit, right? Sometimes the only thing you have going for you as a student, right? Or as a young entrepreneur is your energy, right? Your willingness to get out there, pound the pavement, make things happen. And so if you can find access to tech, right, through tech transfer that is available to help springboard you further than you could just by yourself, I think like these celebrities, right, you're going to have an outsized return on that rather than just trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah, and if you think about creating an entire tech company and doing every little component of it yourself, like a normal person, you would never take on the accounting or legal. You would always hire someone for that. What else should you do or not do? Of all the things a tech startup does, creating the technology is the most risky and the least likely to succeed. So why not start by going to a university, picking through the technologies and finding one that's already valid and go with that? Only makes sense, right?
Well, the technologies coming out of the university, I mean, all of them are, we were at a career fair yesterday and I was thinking about this. I mean, all these technologies are the result of months to years of research, and that's the reason why I think there's so much more success for startups coming out of university technologies is that you're not taking a technology that you've thought up in your head and had it in your mind for a day or a week or a month. And with little or no research behind it, you're getting an idea that multiple people probably have spent months and years of their lives researching and perfecting.
Yeah. And it's unlikely that one of our technologies would make it to the finish line, get to where we're comfortable marketing without already being hit with all the major criticisms. This won't work because of X, Y, and Z, right? So it's been vetted in a way that random technologies haven't. So, okay. Well, we've almost hit an hour, twice the normal length, but it's kind of fun talking about the celebrities. They're doing some interesting things. So thanks for your time, and we'll be back next week with another episode.